Emily Harper sat on the small wooden bleachers of the high school gym, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of coffee, trying to keep her excitement in check. The gym smelled of polished wood and sweat, echoing with the sounds of basketballs bouncing and sneakers squeaking. She watched her son, Jake, as he moved across the court with a mixture of focus and joy. From the moment he could walk, sports had been his passion. But lately, Emily noticed a new intensity in him, a determination that went beyond casual play. Every practice, every drill, every game mattered more to him than ever. And as his mother, she felt both pride and worry. "Watch this, Mom," Jake shouted, leaping toward the basket. The ball swished through the net perfectly, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Emily clapped loudly, feeling her heart swell. She knew he had talent, but talent alone wasn't enough. She had seen other young athletes burn out from overwork or injury, and she feared that might happen to Jake. Still, she tried to keep her worries aside and simply enjoy the moment. After the practice ended, Emily followed Jake to the locker room. He sat on the bench, his head slightly bowed, his hands rubbing his shins. She could see the faint bruises forming, the little signs of the strain his body endured every day. "It's nothing, Mum," he said quickly, trying to brush it off. "Just a scratch." Emily knelt beside him, brushing his hair back gently. "You don't have to hide it from me," she said softly. "I want to help you. We'll get through this together." Her voice held a quiet strength, the kind that comes from a deep love for someone who is growing up fast. Jake looked at her, a mix of gratitude and frustration in his eyes, and for a moment the worries of competition and performance melted away. That evening, they sat together in the living room. Emily prepared a warm drink while Jake rested his legs on the couch. The rain tapped gently against the windows, adding a calm rhythm to their quiet space. Emily watched him, noticing the subtle tension in his shoulders and the fatigue in his eyes. She knew he was pushing himself harder than ever, and the regional championships were approaching. This was his dream, but she understood that dreams sometimes demanded sacrifices that could leave scars, both visible and invisible. "Mom, do you think I can really make it to the championship?" Jake asked, breaking the silence. His voice was earnest, filled with the hope and uncertainty of someone standing on the edge of a challenge. Emily smiled, holding his hand gently. "I don't just think you can. I know you can. But remember, it's not just about winning. It's about giving your best and learning along the way. I'll be with you every step, no matter what happens." Jake leaned back, a small smile forming. There was comfort in his mother's words, a reassurance that he wasn't alone. Emily had always believed in him, and now, as he grew older and the stakes became higher, her support mattered more than ever. She also understood that her role wasn't just cheering from the sidelines. It was about being present in the tough moments, helping him recover from mistakes, bruises, and setbacks. Over the next few days, Emily helped Jake with simple exercises to ease the soreness in his legs. They spent evenings reviewing his game strategies, talking through plays, and visualizing success. Emily noticed that even small moments, like a shared laugh after a failed shot or a comforting word when he felt frustrated, strengthened his confidence. She also realized that this journey was teaching her patience, endurance, and the quiet art of guidance. Supporting Jake wasn't just about sports. It was about shaping him into someone who could face challenges, both on and off the court, with courage and determination. One afternoon, as they walked home from practice in the golden glow of sunset, Jake suddenly stopped. "Mom, what if I hurt myself again? What if I can't play as well as I hope?" he asked, his voice tinged with worry. Emily knelt to look at him, meeting his eyes. "Jake, fear is normal. Every great player feels it. But strength isn't just about your body. It's about your heart and your mind. We'll work together. And even if you stumble, I'll be there. That's what matters most. Jake nodded slowly, feeling a mix of relief and renewed determination. Emily's words weren't just encouragement, they were a promise. And in that promise, Jake found a quiet courage he hadn't felt before. As they continued walking, the rain softened to a drizzle, the streets reflecting the evening lights. Emily knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be injuries, doubts, and moments of frustration. But she also knew that their bond, strengthened by love, trust, and shared dreams, would guide them through. And as she looked at Jake, running ahead briefly to catch a puddle splash, she felt a surge of hope. Together they could face anything. The journey had only begun. And already, Emily sensed that the coming days would test their limits, deepen their connection, and reveal the true strength of a mother's love. The following weeks tested both Jake and Emily in ways they hadn't expected. Practices became longer, more intense, and Emily watched anxiously as her son pushed his body to the limit. Every morning, she made sure he ate well, hydrated properly, and stretched before hitting the court. She kept track of his injuries, small bruises, and growing fatigue, quietly worrying about the toll it all might take. Yet she never let him see her fear, because Jake needed her confidence as much as her care. One rainy afternoon, after a particularly tough practice, Jake collapsed onto the bench, breathing heavily and clutching his shin. Emily rushed to his side, heart pounding. "Mum, I can't stop now. I have to keep going," he gasped. "You don't have to keep going alone," Emily said firmly, helping him sit up. "Your body needs a break, Jake. Even the strongest athletes need rest." Jake shook his head. "But I can't. The championship is coming. If I stop now, all the hard work, everything we've done will be wasted." Emily studied him, seeing the mix of determination and desperation. She understood his drive, how much he wanted to prove himself, but she also knew that pushing too far could destroy more than his chances in the game. "Listen," she said softly. "Your achievements aren't just measured by points or trophies. They're measured by the courage to know your limits and the strength to recover. I'll be with you through this, every step." Jake sighed, leaning his head back against the wall. He hated the idea of resting, but he couldn't ignore the pain in his body. Emily sat beside him, holding his hand and rubbing his back gently. The quiet presence of someone who believed in him made the tension in his muscles ease slightly. Over the next few days, Emily arranged for physical therapy sessions, adjusted his practice schedule, and even researched exercises to strengthen his legs without straining them. Jake resisted at first, frustrated by the slower pace. "It feels like I'm falling behind," he said one evening, looking out the window at the empty court. "You're not falling behind," Emily replied. "You're preparing to come back stronger. This is part of the journey. Every great athlete has setbacks. It's how you respond that defines you." Emily became more than a mother during this time. She was a coach, a nurse, a counselor, and sometimes simply a shoulder to lean on. She encouraged Jake to speak about his fears and frustrations, reminding him that asking for help wasn't weakness. The bond between them deepened with each passing day, threaded with quiet moments of laughter during rehabilitation exercises and conversations that lingered late into the night. One evening, as they worked on gentle stretches in the living room, Jake paused and looked at her. "Mum, do you ever worry that I'll never play as well as I did before?" Emily smiled, brushing his damp hair from his forehead. "I worry about a lot of things, Jake, but I don't worry about your heart. You have the drive, the passion, and the determination to overcome this. We'll take it one day at a time, and together we'll make sure you're ready." Her reassurance was like a lifeline. Jake felt a small spark of hope, a reminder that even in the middle of struggle, progress was possible. Emily's guidance was more than physical support. It was emotional, giving him courage when his own confidence wavered. The weeks passed with slow but steady progress. Emily celebrated every small victory, a pain-free sprint, a perfect shot during a controlled practice, a smile after a challenging therapy session. She also noticed the emotional weight lifting from Jake's shoulders as he learned to trust the process. To accept that strength wasn't just measured by raw talent or sheer effort, but by patience, resilience, and the willingness to lean on someone who cared. One afternoon, as Jake jogged lightly around the track, Emily followed, carrying water and offering encouragement. He paused, breathing heavily but smiling faintly. "I feel better. Not perfect, but stronger than I expected." Emily nodded, pride shining in her eyes. "That's it, Jake. Progress is everything. We'll keep going and you'll be ready when it matters most." But even as hope grew, tension lingered. The championship was approaching, and Emily knew the final weeks would be the toughest. Jake's determination, while admirable, still carried the risk of pushing too hard too soon. Every day was a balancing act between training and recovery, between ambition and care. Emily's mind often wandered to what-ifs. What if he got hurt again? What if the pressure became too much? Yet, she never let these fears show, instead channeling her energy into planning, motivating, and quietly protecting him from setbacks. Late one evening, as they sat in silence after an especially long day of training, Jake's voice broke the quiet. "Mom, what if I fail? What if all this isn't enough?" Emily took a deep breath and held his hands. "Jake, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every challenge, every bruise, every moment you feel weak, those are the steps that make you stronger. And remember, no matter what happens on the court, I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you." Her words settled over him like a warm blanket. He realized that winning wasn't the only thing that mattered. The love and support of his mother gave him something far stronger: confidence, courage, and the belief that he wasn't alone. As they turned off the lights and headed upstairs, Emily glanced at him with quiet determination. The championship was coming, and the final test of his strength and spirit was near. But she knew, deep in her heart, that together they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And in that knowledge, both of them found hope, courage, and the promise of triumph waiting just beyond the horizon. The following weeks became a turning point for Jake and Emily. The recovery process was no longer just about physical healing. It had become a journey of trust, patience, and quiet determination. Emily dedicated herself entirely to helping Jake regain strength. Each morning, she prepared breakfast rich in nutrients, checked that he was hydrated, and reminded him of the exercises that would protect his shin. Even small victories, a stretch completed without pain, a jump landed cleanly, felt like monumental achievements. Jake's frustration sometimes bubbled over. "Mom, it's taking too long. Everyone else is practicing full speed, and I'm still on these slow drills," he complained one afternoon, tossing his towel onto the floor. Emily knelt beside him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Progress isn't a race, Jake. This is your journey, not theirs. Every step you take now builds the foundation for when it really counts. I'll be here, guiding you, every step of the way." The afternoons were filled with exercises, stretching, and careful practice sessions. Emily watched him closely, correcting his posture, encouraging him to breathe through discomfort, and reminding him to celebrate the small wins. Slowly, Jake began to feel a shift. He wasn't just recovering. He was learning to respect his body, to listen to its signals, and to understand that strength wasn't only physical. It was mental and emotional too. Evenings became their quiet time. Emily and Jake would sit together on the porch, the sun setting in soft golden light. They talked about everything: his fears, hopes, and dreams. Emily shared stories from her own youth, times when she had struggled to chase her ambitions and how support had made all the difference. Jake began to see her not only as a mother but as a mentor, someone who could guide him through challenges without judgment, offering both comfort and wisdom. One evening, after a long session of controlled drills, Jake looked at her with a mix of vulnerability and hope. "Mom, what if I can't play like I used to? What if my best isn't enough?" Emily smiled softly, brushing back a stray lock of his hair. "Jake, your best is never measured by anyone else. It's about how hard you try, how you bounce back, and how much heart you put into it. You've come so far already, and I'm proud of every step. Winning isn't just the goal, it's learning to rise after setbacks, and you're doing that every day." Her words seemed to lift a weight off his shoulders. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to feel pride in progress, rather than focusing only on the championship. Emily noticed his mood lifting, the tension in his body easing, and a quiet determination replacing frustration. One afternoon, Emily surprised him with a small obstacle course she had set up in the backyard. It wasn't meant to be competitive, it was a playful way to build agility and confidence. Jake laughed more than he had in weeks, jumping over cones and weaving between markers, Emily cheering him on. The laughter and encouragement reminded him that recovery didn't have to be dull or stressful. It could be joyful, and it could strengthen their bond in ways competition alone never could. As the days passed, Jake's movements became more confident. His steps were lighter, his jumps higher, and his shots more precise. Emily's support had transformed into a steady rhythm of motivation, guidance, and unwavering belief. She celebrated quietly whenever he achieved a milestone, reminding him that even small victories were essential for the bigger goal. But as much as progress was happening, the upcoming championship loomed like a shadow. Jake felt the pressure creeping back, a whisper of fear that he might lose everything he had worked for. One evening, sitting quietly on the couch, he admitted, "Mum, I'm scared. What if I'm not ready? What if all this hard work isn't enough?" Emily took his hands in hers, her eyes steady and warm. "Jake, fear is part of the journey. It means you care. But remember, preparation and courage are stronger than fear. You've come so far, and I've seen you push through pain, frustration, and doubt. You're stronger than you think, and whatever happens, we'll face it together." Her words were more than encouragement, they were a promise. A reminder that success wasn't just about a trophy or a win. It was about resilience, determination, and the love and support that surrounded him. Jake felt the tension in his chest ease, replaced with a quiet confidence that came from knowing he wasn't alone. Emily also noticed a change within herself. Supporting Jake had opened her heart in unexpected ways. She realized the depth of her own patience, the quiet joy of guiding someone through challenges, and the beauty of witnessing growth firsthand. There was an emotional intimacy in their connection that went beyond mother and son, a shared understanding, a trust that had deepened through struggle and care. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily watched Jake practice a few free throws alone in the driveway. His form was steady, his movements precise, but there was a spark in his eyes, a mixture of excitement and nervousness for what was coming. Emily felt a swell of pride and a twinge of worry, knowing that the championship would test everything they had worked for. She stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Ready?" she asked softly. Jake nodded, determination shining through. "Ready, Mom." As they walked inside, the house bathed in warm evening light. Both of them knew the final test was near. The championship wasn't just a game, it was a culmination of sweat, perseverance, and the bond they had strengthened every day. And in that quiet moment, Emily felt certain that no matter the outcome, their journey together had already been a triumph of courage, love, and unwavering support. The day of the regional championship arrived with a crisp, early morning air that carried both excitement and tension. Emily woke before dawn, her mind racing with worry and anticipation. She quietly prepared breakfast, careful not to wake Jake too early. But the house buzzed with energy. Today was the moment they had both been working toward, the culmination of weeks of recovery, training, and relentless effort. Jake entered the kitchen, still rubbing sleep from his eyes, but carrying a sense of calm determination. His shin was taped carefully, and Emily could see the tension in his shoulders. "Morning, Mum," he said, his voice low but steady. "Morning, champ," Emily replied, smiling. "Remember, today isn't just about winning. It's about showing how far you've come and giving your best. I'll be right there with you, cheering every step." He nodded, a quiet gratitude in his eyes before heading off to warm up with his team. Emily followed soon after, taking a seat in the bleachers. The gym was filled with the hum of chatter, sneakers squeaking, and the squeal of referee whistles. Emily's stomach tightened as she watched Jake stretch and warm up, his every movement careful but confident. The game began, fast and intense. Jake's team faced a tough opponent, a group of skilled players with years of experience. Each point scored felt like a battle won, every defensive move a challenge met. Emily's heart raced with every pass, every shot, every leap for the ball. She clapped, shouted encouragement, and silently reminded herself to breathe as she watched her son pour everything into the game. Jake moved with precision. Remembering Emily's guidance during his recovery, he adjusted his movements, balanced his steps, and stayed aware of his body in ways he hadn't before. It wasn't just skill, it was strategy, resilience, and the quiet strength built over weeks of struggle. Every moment of pain, every frustrating drill, and every session of encouragement from Emily had prepared him for this. Midway through the game, Jake stumbled slightly after a jump shot, his shin throbbing with a familiar ache. The opposing team pressed hard, and the score was neck and neck. Emily's heart sank. She had feared this moment, the possibility of his injury returning at the worst possible time. She stood, cheering louder, willing him to push through the discomfort, knowing he needed both strength and confidence. Jake paused for a second, shaking off the pain and taking a deep breath. He remembered Emily's words. Strength isn't just physical, it's mental and emotional. You've got this. Renewed, he pivoted, passed the ball cleanly, and set up a perfect assist for his teammate. The crowd erupted and Emily felt tears sting her eyes. Pride and relief washed over her. He was playing smart, strong, and with heart. As the clock wound down, the score was tied. Every player on the court was tense, their movements sharp, their focus absolute. Emily held her breath as Jake maneuvered, anticipating the final play. With a careful pivot and a steady jump, he took the shot. The ball sailed through the air, seeming to hang for a heartbeat, before swishing perfectly through the net. The gym exploded in cheers. Jake's team had won. Emily ran to him, throwing her arms around his sweaty, tired body. "You did it! I'm so proud of you," she cried, her voice full of relief and joy. Jake laughed, exhausted but radiant, his chest rising and falling rapidly. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You were with me the whole time." Later that evening, back at home, they sat quietly on the porch, the golden light fading into a soft evening glow. Jake leaned against his mother, feeling the warmth and comfort of her presence. "Mom, I've learned so much, not just about basketball, but about myself. About patience, about trusting myself, And about not giving up, he said softly. Emily held his hand, squeezing it gently. I've learned too, Jake. I've learned that supporting someone you love takes patience, courage, and sometimes letting them find their own strength. And watching you grow has been the greatest reward. The championship had been more than a victory on the court. It had been a triumph of resilience, determination, and the bond between mother and son. Emily realized that their journey together had taught them both lessons that would last a lifetime, lessons about trust, perseverance, and the quiet power of love and support. That night, as they prepared for bed, Jake smiled at her. Mom, thank you for never giving up on me, for believing in me when I doubted myself. Emily kissed his forehead, her heart full. Jake, I'll always believe in you. No matter the challenge, I'll always be here. That's what family is for. As she turned off the light and closed the door, Emily felt a deep sense of peace. They had faced struggles, overcome fears, and discovered strength within themselves they hadn't known existed. And while the championship was over, the journey, the lessons, the growth, the love was only just beginning. They had proven that success wasn't only measured in trophies or wins, but in courage, resilience, and the bonds that carry you through life's challenges. And in that quiet, gentle moment, Emily knew that no matter what lay ahead, they could face it together, stronger and closer than ever. The end of the game was only the beginning of many more victories in life shared, supported, and celebrated together.